Legend of Total War here, and today we're going to be talking about some community stuff here. The first thing is going on about the Total War 1 and 3 hotfix. So this came out about an hour ago. It's bigger than previous hotfixes, so that's definitely good. But nothing in here I think is critical fixes that absolutely need to be done. But it's all good stuff, don't get me wrong. And I think the fact that we've gotten 3 hotfixes since Shadows of Change is definitely an indication that Creative Assembly are actually listening, at least a little bit, because I don't think that they would have done 3 hotfixes if there wasn't such huge community outcry. And so what we're starting to see now is, remember the previous video that I made was like, we all sort of lost on that situation. We're actually starting to see a situation where maybe we're actually kind of winning. Finally getting through to them that this game needs to actually have constant updates, and that we need a custodian team. I've been speaking to a fair few content creators about Total War 1 and 3 and the state of it and what we could do to try to improve things, and I think most people will agree that the best thing that Total War 1 and 3 can do right now is have a custodian team to really polish up the game, because right now it is just really unpolished. There's loads of content in the game that just feels really off, and having a custodian team come in there and clean up some of the bugs, make the content sort of work a bit better, would be really beneficial. And maybe even work on things like race reworks, because a lot of people I think were expecting with Shadows of Change that these factions were going to get something more substantial of a rework, and the race update was so unsubstantial that you could hardly even call it a faction update, really. And I think that's largely due to Creative Assembly seems to be focused on just making more models, making more units in the game, making more legendary laws, just making more content, trying to sell it to you, because updating the game doesn't make them money necessarily. But it kind of does, because if there are fewer people that are interested in the game because of the state of it, then fewer people are going to buy the DLC in general, which is kind of what we saw with Shadows of Change. So if they were to dedicate a bit more resources to making the game more enjoyable for people who aren't willing to pay huge amounts of money for DLC, give something to the people who have already invested something into this game, even if it's not everything, give them something to make the game more enjoyable. And the thing is, with Warhammer 2, we were kind of getting relatively regular updates that really improve the player count of the game. And this was brought up by Nerd Rage Fred, that the Potion of Speed update coincided with roughly at the same time as the Warden and Paunch update. And I didn't even think about this, but that coincided with the largest player count of Total War Warhammer 2. And I've always attributed that to Warden and Paunch, but maybe it was actually attributed to the Potion of Speed update, because what that did was made your player time more valuable, because you would spend less time sitting there waiting for end turns to pass. So that added a lot of value to the game. And if they could do more updates along those sort of lines, especially with an AI update, like we're getting so many posts on this Total War subreddit now about people complaining about the AI on across all difficulties essentially, that it's just total dog shit. And I've certainly experienced it in my own campaigns. I mean, dealing with dog shit AI is sort of what I do on a daily basis anyway, but it seems like everybody else is noticing that the AI is particularly bad in this latest patch, and it's not really something that I think one dude is able to fix. This isn't a database issue, so a custodian team, this is something that they could tackle and possibly improve it, because I really don't think that this game is going to do well if they don't, or do well going forward, if they don't address the AI issue. It's been a huge problem. It's getting worse, and so a custodian team would be really valuable. So this is something that we want to try to spearhead. I'm curious to hear how much support you guys are willing to throw behind an effort to try to get Creative Assembly to develop a custodian team. It may be something that they're already thinking of. I don't know. Slight conversations from behind the scenes are indicating that it is not worth their time to do it at this stage, but maybe it's something they're considering, and maybe we just need to push them over the line, similar to what we did with the Immortal Empire's petition. Now, that doesn't mean a petition for this is necessarily the right way to go, but that also doesn't mean it isn't. So maybe we'll do a petition, maybe. But I'm curious to know what your support would be on that grounds. Do you guys feel like the best thing for Total War Warhammer 3 right now would be a custodian team? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Then the next thing I want to talk about is the poll that I did on the channel earlier today, because I'm always trying to gather data about what you guys want. I know how I feel about Total War Pharaoh, and it's easy to sit here and just preach and just say how I feel about it, but I really want to know what you guys are feeling about Total War Pharaoh, and this was very interesting. So I put this poll up here. It's just saying, hey guys, just gathering some information so I can make informed decisions on my takes on Pharaoh. Just vote as honestly as you can, no judgment here. Feel free to leave an explanation if you want, but it's not required. Please select the option that is most relevant. I can only put 5 in here. Are you going to purchase Total War Pharaoh? Now, we have 35,000 votes here, and I have never, in my entire time doing polls, ever, not once, seen an option get 0% votes. I have literally never seen it happen. And to see, again, on 1%, I've done so many polls with, like, spoof options, where friggin' 20% of people posted it just because they were doing it for the lols. The fact that 1 and 0% and then 2% for the 3 different variations that are going to be available for Total War Pharaoh, this is, I've never seen anything like this whatsoever across my own channel. Now, I understand as well that polling this is mostly going to spread to my viewers and not necessarily the entire Total War community as a whole. And I understand that. But even among my own viewers, we've got to keep in mind as well that I do cover historical Total War games every now and again. There's a huge part of my viewer base that loves Medieval 2 or even Rome 2. I'm sure if I asked opinions, usually when I ask opinions about other Total War games, I get some degree of disagreement towards my own point of view with that particular game. But this is just so bizarre because this is almost exactly on par with how I feel about it. Like, if I was going to vote, my vote here is I'm not ever going to purchase Total War Pharaoh. So seeing this is very interesting for sure, and Creative Assembly should be insanely alarmed about this, because in my opinion about Total War Pharaoh is that it is a saga game. The amount of content that's being pushed up, basically what we're seeing here is a repeat of history. This is a Thrones of Britannia level event where we have a half-baked game being pushed out, except Thrones of Britannia was cheaper than Total War Attila. This is the most expensive Total War game ever pushed out to the community, and people are just not buying it. People see it as a saga game, but as full game price. And the fact that 70% of 35,000 votes just have written off Pharaoh as just not worth getting is absolutely insane to me. Now, nothing against anyone that has any intention of purchasing the various different editions. That's entirely up to you. How you spend your money is entirely up to you. But this poll here is something of an anomaly among polls, because I never see this degree of unanimous voting. It just never happens. So this is very interesting to me, for sure. Anyway, so those were the things that I wanted to talk about here. Obviously, stuff about Pharaoh should be very alarming for Creative Assembly. And I think it's really good that Creative Assembly is doing these hotfixes. Hopefully they keep doing them. I hope that they keep listening to the feedback. They say that they are, and they do appear to be doing that. And I think that the community outrage has fueled this situation where basically Creative Assembly is now pretty desperate to get you guys satisfied again. Now, I don't think that this is enough, but it's a good start for sure. And I think Creative Assembly should be given some credit for this. So I really do appreciate that they are doing hotfixes. And on that note, I intend to live stream tomorrow. I've got some fairly important news that I'll talk about during the live stream and try to be as candid as possible during that. But there are some interesting things happening behind the scenes, and I think we're at a really pivotal turning point within Total War where something very interesting is about to occur. So hopefully you'll show up to the live stream. But overall, just want to keep you updated about what's going on. But yeah, there's exciting things happening with Total War Warhammer, kind of, maybe. We'll see. And Pharaoh, this is going to be something very interesting to see when it launches less than a month from now, when there's just so little hype around it. So that's going to be quite interesting to see. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Later, guys.